Great.
So this is Backstage Live. We're backstage and we're live online right now. So we're going to have continue the conversation that you guys were just having upstairs with Rebecca. And anyone that's watching right now can actually write into us with their questions, and we hope they do. So we're going to talk about how men think. I mean, this is finally, because I've been waiting for this day. Really.
I'm going to speak as a guy, a scientist, a straight guy.
I hope you do. I hope you do.
Okay.
So, you know, is it really true? Are men from Mars and women from Venus? Are we wired to think differently?
Our brains are wired to think differently, you know, as we were saying upstairs, you know, the fact that men listen with the left side of their brain, women listen with both. But there's actually a lot of research that shows that women use more of their gray matter, men use more of their white matter. So we actually have brain differences.
What does that mean exactly?
So the white matter is where most of your smarty pants stuff happens, and the gray matter is where a lot of your emotional stuff happens. So women are more keyed in emotionally, but our brains are wired differently. There was actually a huge study and major books published in the past couple of years specifically on brain development, brain research, and the differences between men and women. It's too much to go into right now, but it's definitely worth looking up because we're literally wired differently. So that's when you look at your boyfriend, you go, how come he's not a woman? That's the answer. Don't ask him questions you ask your girlfriends because he can't answer them.
Right. And also, you can't have the same kind of conversations you have with your girlfriends, nor should you. I mean, we do need...
What kind of conversation would
How
you have with your girlfriend?
look? How does this look?
Right.
What do you think of my outfit?
Or we would talk about various...
I mean, you look...
various
Robbie-
nuances.
But Robbie would know to say that skirt doesn't really work with that
No,
sweater.
you know, it was interesting.
Right, or where did
Robbie
you get that
did
lipstick?
come out and Robbie was noticing
Yeah. And what did you
everything.
notice,
Right.
Ian? You didn't.
Well, I noticed I took in the complete
He
package
noticed us
thing.
noticing each other.
He noticed us noticing. That's such a guy thing. Like the two women interacting.
Because on some level, he's thinking two
Right.
women. You know,
Two
Exactly.
women, exactly.
So what can women do to know how to communicate with a man on their turf in the way that they need to understand?
You have to know your audience, right? I mean, when we're talking to little kids, we talk in a way that reaches little kids. When we're talking to a man, not that I'm comparing men to little kids,
To a 4-year-old.
you have to understand that.
Are you listening to me?
Are you with me? How are you thinking about me right now? But men are.
See, be concise. See, once you
Yes,
start talking for too long,
Yeah, they
just
turn
say-
on.
Say
They're
it,
like,
say
get
it,
to the point.
Say it like say it in like 50 words or less.
We were saying
and hold our
talk
attention.
in sound bites. You know, try to
Because
get to the
yeah,
point.
immediately-
None of
This
this.
dynamic is
No,
just
immediately
classic
my
right now.
mind does start
Robbie's
to
going
run
on and he's
after a
saying,
while.
no, shorter.
He's basically saying, "Be quiet, Robbie, and talk shorter."
Say it in a little soundbite, and then.
But
I'll
sometimes
understand
sound
it.
bites are too harsh, you know?
Timing. You have to think about timing. You know, when your guy gets home from work, that is not the time to have a long, serious conversation. You know, think about let your guy kind of go off, relax, and when he's refreshed.
Yeah, I have a
right?
question because I've
Yeah.
noticed this about my wife, and we have the same argument. I'll walk through the door. I haven't even taken off my coat. I still have my bag. I'm just finishing up an email, and immediately she's bringing me into a conversation.
She's been waiting all day.
Yeah.
No, she's been out too doing
No, but
stuff.
she's been waiting all day.
But the point is, I need to transition a
Yes.
little. Like I need to enter, and I'm now entering my house, and I can take my stuff off, and I'm now in home mode. Like as a guy, I really do switch modes. Like I go
Yes.
from
That's
work
because
mode to
there's,
home mode.
there's a British study done just this year where they found that women are more lucid and like to argue in the mid-afternoon, early evening. So everything that goes on all day long that we stew about, we can't wait to get it off our chest. So by the time mid-afternoon happens, we are ready to go. And that's actually good advice. Like if you're somebody looking for a raise from your boss, for example, don't ask first thing in the morning because men are not receptive first thing in the morning or when they get home from work. So
What if your boss is a woman?
if your boss is a woman, make sure you ask mid-afternoon, right before the mid-afternoon, like
Before she's ready to argue.
before she's ready to argue. Yeah, certainly by 3 o'clock you've blown it.
Should I go to her in the morning?
I was, yeah, between 11 and 3, I think you're pretty safe. Yeah, but anything like after 3, once you get into mid-afternoon, things have changed for her because it has to do with our hormone levels and how we process food and our moods. It has to do with our biology. So biologically, men are not all that open when they first get home from work, but they are later. They are like around 8 o'clock at night.
I have another question. My wife talks to her mother like every day for like an hour a day. I don't know, and she's very
they're
busy.
in sync.
They're,
You know, and they can
my
listen to the nuances.
My mom like will email me, and we're not on phone. I've gotten it from phone to email, and it's like one word, cool. Everything's fine. Great, great. And it's just like, what is the thing with women and talking to their mothers
like
over
connecting,
and over
but
and
we
over
like
about the
connecting,
same
and we
thing.
need to connect, and that's when we feel most alive. And the truth of the matter is, once a woman realizes that she may connect with her mother or her girlfriends in an entirely different way than she ever will with her male partners, and be okay with that, then that could be a great relief in terms of a relationship, because you're not expecting to get something from your partner that they can't give you. It doesn't mean they don't love you, they're not interested in you. It's just the way they show it is slightly different.
And the content of the conversation is different. The things you talk to your mother about might not be the things you talk to your significant other about. So you have to talk about those things. So you're choosing your audience wisely.
Yeah.
I also think that, at least for myself, in order to process my own thoughts, I like to sound them off with my mother. So that's part of kind of me thinking out loud. But it's not just all women, because my sister is like you. She has my mom down not just to email, but to BlackBerry chat. My mom can't even email my sister. It's only BBM.
Well, it's funny. I'm the father of 2 boys. They're 7 and 4, so they're little guys. They're not big guys yet. But my wife she'll be like, so, want to make conversation? How's the day going? My one son's like, okay. The other one's like, fine. I'm like, yeah,
Poor wife. So in order to talk to men better, what are some tips? How can we approach men?
I actually think this is a communication tip for couples in general. There have been studies that have shown that really the difference between couples who succeed and couples who fail, the ones who stay married versus the ones who get divorced, the difference is that the couples who stay together have a much higher ratio of positive to negative interactions. The couples who fail and divorced have way more negative interactions. And so the study that was done that tried to sort of like clock people's interactions basically came up with a ratio of, and for every negative interaction you have, you need to balance it with 5 positive. So you need to get in what's called the 5-to-1 zone. 5 positive interactions for every negative interaction. Now clearly you can't go around counting your every interaction, but you can know, am I in a positive zone with my partner?
Well, that's certainly true. And also couples who succeed tend to really see each other in a more positive light than those who get divorced. But I think it's also important for men to realize that like I've heard some men say, we never fought. And I said, and you think that's a good thing? Because the feeling is, if we're not talking about it and there's no conflict, then there's peace and things are okay. And that's not the case.
Women,
Really? So you think that you actually need to have fights?
Not necessarily fights, but you need to find a way to talk about the issues so that you can resolve them. Not talking about something doesn't make it go away.
That's the thing that women do. Men lash out a lot. I mean, a guy gets upset or angry, his blood pressure goes up, his heart rate increases, he sort of has a neurochemical reaction, and he's kind of hijacked by emotion, and he lashes out. It's not the best way of communicating. It's not the healthiest way. Women often do the opposite. They self-silence, they bottle up, and so they will hold a grudge and keep something in. That's not healthy either. So it is about, healthy constructive communication and recognizing what your pattern is. If your pattern as a guy is to always lash out and your pattern as a woman is to always self-silence, that can be a very dangerous combination.
men can be that way
you have to make sure that you read your partner for who they are as an individual. So for example, if you say to your partner, you never tell me you love me, but maybe he makes the bed every morning or makes you coffee, that's how he shows he loves you. So you have to be able to read his interpretation of what love is.
Do you think making a bed actually means a man loves you?
I gotta tell you, absolutely. Yeah, for some women that are overwhelmed, that feel like I need my room to be in order, and if he makes the bed because he's doing it because he knows it's important to you, he's not doing it because he just feels like making a bed. He's doing it because he knows it's a loving act. So you have to be able to interpret that he means that lovingly, and that means I love you to him.
And to piggyback on what Cooper is saying, I think, and that's a great point, you also need to acknowledge when your partner is on the right track so that they know it. Because sometimes we're just kind of shooting in the dark and we don't really know what works. So that's right. And men tend to show love rather than talk about it. And in some ways that's a good thing. Because if you're with somebody who can blah, blah, blah very easily, it may not mean so much. So look for the person who behaves in sync with, caring about you. That means a lot.
And on this note, I once read about in order to change the behavior of your partner, you should use positive reinforcement.
Yes.
So if they always leave their socks at the foot of the bed and it drives you insane, stop picking them up and instead let them pile up into a mountain, and then they'll finally pick it up.
About that New York Times article, that woman that's training her husband like Shamu. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know, there's some theories that does work. I mean, that's one anecdotal story, but you know, I don't know if you saw this article, but
I
it was
read it,
it was
yes,
the
I
woman
did.
who she was doing a story on animal
It was
training.
cute.
Yeah, it was very cute.
It was very behavioral therapy. But I do think the point is that when anybody does anything and it's on the right track and you let them know, success breeds success. And if your partner knows that something they are doing is really working, don't you think that's really true, Ian, for you?
It is, and I want to say something also about like the socks on the floor. Like my wife, like I'm more of the neat freak in the house. Like I make the bed not because I love my wife, but because I like that sense of order, and I need to have the bed made. And she'll leave her socks and she'll leave her clothes, and I actually do all the laundry. And you know, instead of arguing about it, I pick up the socks, I pick up the clothes, I do the laundry, I actually do the dishes. But you know what? She loves to cook. She does the cooking. She does a lot of different things with the boys. And I think it's more about finding an even kind of division of labor that just plays to your strengths. My wife is never going to be the type of person that, she's always going to be the person that just throws her clothes down and goes on
Comedian John
to do something.
Heffron says it best. You know, he says that the problem is women come in and they argue and they say, I don't like that you do this, and this is the problem, this is the problem. You got to treat your men like you would treat a college roommate. Come in and say, do the dishes, ass.
Right.
And walk
the way
out.
that they speak to each other.
Yeah, the way that men speak to each other.
I've actually thought about this and spoken to my friends about this. Women, when they live together, like I have roommates, for example, will find kind of more subtle ways of saying things like, oh, we should clean today. But men are just like, you're a slob.
Yeah.
Slob.
Right, exactly. Clean up.
So what are some other secrets to understanding the male mind?
God, secret, understanding the male mind, jeez.
I read that men let go of things faster.
Men do go with things fast. You had a great explanation for that upstairs. I'm going to let you say that because I love what you said.
What did I say? I don't remember what I said. It's talking about communicate. What did I say about men?
Men don't hold on. They don't hold on to issues as long as women do. So what are some tips for women then to be able to...
I think that men don't personalize things. If you're not as intimately engaged, then you're not going to interpret every nuance as having some hidden meaning and hold on to it and personalize it. So men tend to relate in a more kind of subject-oriented way. In fact, where men talk about emotions most is via sports, because that's where you could be macho and really have a strong emotion. So, yeah, I think men tend to see things more objectively.
And I think if you're arguing with a guy, or you want to have an intense conversation with a guy, the other thing is to understand that he might get emotionally hijacked by something. I mean, he might go from like 0 to 60 and go straight from like calm to rage very quickly. And the thing is, what a lot of women will do at that point is sort of keep up with the guy, and then he'll just escalate to the next level, and then things get escalated. Guys get hijacked by emotion very quickly. It's a neurochemical cocktail. It kind of takes over, and you kind of need to say something. If you have something important to say, let it sit for a little while and let him hopefully cool down a little bit, and then have the conversation.
Now, we're talking a lot about things women can do to better understand men, but, you know, it goes both ways. I think that men need to better understand women sometimes. What do you think are some of the main things that they misunderstand about the female mind?
That women tend to think with their emotions, and we may talk about a problem, but we don't want a quick, fix it. Sometimes we just want to be heard, and we just want to be acknowledged. So if men realize they don't need to be the quick fix-it man, perhaps that would help relieve their sense of pressure and help them just relate to their partner, where their partner is at.
I think also men derive so much of their self-esteem from things that are outside of the relationship. Like, men really get a lot of, like, for example, if a guy's not doing well at work, he's going to have low libido and he's probably not going to be that interested in intimacy. Men, just so much of their self-esteem is outside of the relationship in the house. I think for women, not to say that a lot of self-esteem doesn't come through work issues, because obviously they do, but I think a lot of the self-esteem comes through what's happening in the relationship and in the home. And so I think a lot of times a guy will miss the opportunity to hug his partner or tell his partner, hey, you look really beautiful today, or don't worry, you're going to figure this out, your thing, and go rock the world. And I think so guys can definitely do more to boost their female partner's self-esteem in the moment.
And what about same-sex couples? Because don't you think a man with a man will better understand his partner? Do you think that they have a higher success rate at understanding each other?
No, my feeling is if you really look at homosexual versus heterosexual relationships, relationships are relationships. If people are comfortable with their sexuality, these issues come up in gay couples and straight couples.
Now, what about speaking to someone not eye to eye?
Oh, yeah.
Is it better to, if you have an issue you want to bring up with your partner, and is it better to sit them down and have a talk straight faced, or wait until you're in the car not looking at each other in the eye?
Well, I mean, I think it's really important to do it when the person's most receptive. You know, as we were saying earlier, you know, when he comes home from work, that's not the best time to be like, and here's what I need, and I forgot to tell you this, and this is on my mind. It's better when the man is more relaxed, for sure, because then he's more receptive to what's going on. So I think timing is really important. A lot of fights happen because women just want to get something off their chest without realizing where the man is where he's in his life at that moment, where he is emotionally. And then you have to say what you said earlier because it was so brilliant.
What I was saying is that women are really eye-to-eye communicators and face-to-face communicators, and that has a lot to do with the evolutionary history of women raising infants, looking into an infant's eyes, coddling, cooing an infant. Historically, when men were looking into other men's eyes, they were going into battle. They were going to kill. And so when a woman talks to a guy and looks him straight in the eye and has a problem, that battle cry is being signaled. Men were at their most relaxed, you know, when they were sitting in a circle around the fire eating the buffalo that they'd hunted down and killed that day. And so for men, if you want to like really have a conversation, it's kind of about doing it in a more casual side-by-side way. Maybe you're taking a walk, maybe you're driving, maybe you're washing the dishes and he's, you know, doing something else, and you're kind of in the same area, but you're not like, hey, we got to talk. Because once you say, we got to talk, it's like Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. Are you talking to me?
Right.
And talking to me? What do you want to talk to me about?
Usually it's a code word for we got to fight.
Right, exactly.
We got a problem.
So they get their gloves on.
Yeah, right.
So then, I mean, do you think that men maybe should change the way that they behave in that sense and be more receptive?
The truth of the matter is, both couples in a relationship need to be thoughtful. You can't just treat your partner like a garbage dump, where they're there to just be to receive every single thought and feeling and emotion you've ever had. You have to think about treating your partner like a friend, and thinking about their reaction and a way in which they need to hear what you have to say. And couples who are better able to do that will enjoy each other more.
Hence, positive communication, the ratio of positive to negative communication.
And we're more inclined to go to the negative.
Right, and the person you're going to change is yourself. You cannot, I am one of the people that believe that you cannot change another person. You can change yourself and your perceptions, but if you're setting out to change somebody, you're already on the wrong path.
Well, we'll end it on that note. Thank you guys so much for all of these great tips on how to better understand the male mind and understand each other, and for men to understand the female mind. And hopefully,
you heard everything we said.
I did.
Yes.
Did you learn?
I did. And did you see me? I was agreeing. I said, Oh, I learned a lot.
She's going to be married in a week now.
I'll invite you all to the wedding.
Oh, good.
Well, that does it for us on Backstage Live. Thank you all to all of our guests for coming and spending a little extra time here. Rick, thanks to you as always.
Thanks again, Adriana. See you soon. Yeah?
Absolutely. And thanks everyone in the chat room who's been chiming in all morning long. So we hope everyone enjoys their Saturday or whatever time it is, wherever you are, and that you come back and see us at the same time next week.
Bye.
Bye.